This video is proudly sponsored by Gamersgate. Download games anytime, anywhere. Visit Gamersgate.com. Hello everybody, welcome back to Elder Geeks Game Club. My name is Steve Wilkinson, and with me as always is Phil Summers. Phil, how are you doing tonight?
I am very good. How are you?
You don't sound very good, Phil. I'm going to be
I am
honest
good.
with you.
I didn't
You're not
I didn't
selling
mean
it,
to
man.
sound
You're
that.
not selling it.
I know. I'm very good.
All right, excellent. There you go. There you go. You need to bring out the 3 you did in the count off. That's got to be the good. And, of course, the editor and owner of ElderGeek.com, our wonderful benefactor, Mr. Randy. Randy, how are you doing tonight?
Benefactor? What?
Yes, he's paying more bills.
Like I'm bankrolling you guys.
He's our one-man Kickstarter.
Sometimes you game roll us.
That's about it. Not like I'm putting any food on your table or anything.
Well, you know what I mean.
I do. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me once again. Let's talk some video games.
Yes, everybody, this is the Game Club, and this time around we have played Quantum Conundrum. This is episode number 27, by the way. I neglected to mention that. Quantum Conundrum. That was the game we played, and let's go ahead. Phil, why don't you kick off with a little history on the game, even though it just came out.
Yeah. Well. Hey. So there was time making this game. There was a history during that time. So
there's a bit of sordid history.
There's a bit of a history here. I was actually surprised. It's a first-person puzzle game. I guess in the vein of like Portal, really. It's really the only comparison you can make. And it was developed by Airtight Games. I don't know anything about Airtight Games. They are made up of ex-FASA studio guys and Microsoft employees. So FASA, didn't they do like Shadowrun, Randy?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, they did
Sounds good to me.
they did the Xbox Live, Xbox 360 version of Shadowrun that came out at the beginning of this console generation.
Yeah, they were close.
Which was an excellent game, I might add. Unfortunately,
it had a very small but dedicated base, huh?
I was among them. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was a game that it had the stigma of having the Shadowrun IP attached to it, and people were upset that they made it into a first-person shooter. So it kind of got kicked to the curb because of that. However, it was an excellent first-person shooter, and it was also a very excellent magic-based first-person shooter, competitive shooter, kind of in the vein of Counter-Strike.
Okay.
Kind of sounds like Syndicate. You know what I mean? Like an old franchise that nobody used for a really long time, and then suddenly when they turn it into a first-person shooter, after nobody touches the IP for 20 years, people get pissed off.
Right. So, sorry.
It's all right. So their first game as Airtight Games was actually the colossal Capcom bomb, Dark Void, which was like $10, probably like 5 months after it came out.
If that.
Yeah. And the big thing with Quantum Conundrum is that it was designed by Kim Swift, the lead designer of Portal. She left actually during the development of Portal 2, so she didn't even finish Portal 2. And then after that, it was quickly announced that she was hired by Airtight to develop a brand new game. Airtight, I guess, got a hold of her because they wanted to create games that hit a broader audience, most likely after, the fallout of Dark Void. Which, it's actually amazing they didn't close after Dark Void when you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess they got paid. They were... I don't know how that stuff works, but,
Well, I'm sure they had their
Capcom
costs
gave
covered.
them... Right. I'm sure the person that ate shit on that was probably Capcom. But anyway...
Eating shit is the business technical term on that one.
Yes. The game was officially revealed PAX Prime 2011, and then it was released on Steam June 21st of this year, and just this past week got the Xbox Live and PSN release. Currently on Metacritic holds a 78. PS3 and Xbox versions don't have enough reviews yet, but
78. That's a crime.
I agree. That seems about right.
Ouch.
78 is good on a scale of 0 to 100.
Yeah, it's good, but
it's
for
a
like
good score.
It's a good score based on everybody that doesn't score on like ElderGeek.com standards. Based on like everybody else standards, 78 is a kind of a shit game. You know?
No.
You don't think?
I don't think 78's a shit game.
Right.
I don't think. There's
Yeah,
probably
you're right.
a bunch of like
It's a high
70s I enjoy. Yeah, it's almost an 80. Steve, I think you should go first on your thoughts because you had trouble.
Well, okay. So I'll preface this by saying Portal 2, absolutely two of my favorite games this, I guess I'd say generation since they came out, you know, in the last few years. Portal 2 was my game of the year for the Elder Geek list last year, 2011. And so I was pretty excited about this game, and I will say that I like it very much. However, something weird with this game is going on, and I was having really, really bad motion sickness playing.
You're not the
this
only
game.
one, by the way, because actually I read a bunch of forum boards about people complaining about the field of view.
Yeah, I did a bunch of searches. I didn't know if it was the vertical sync, which is locked on in the game unless you go into the config file and manually disable it. I don't know what it was, but I could play this game in about 20-minute spurts. And then I was telling Phil about this the other day. There was maybe the second time I played the game. I was sitting here playing it, and I got so dizzy I actually broke out in sweats. I stripped down to my boxers and I laid on the floor for about a half an hour.
Holy
I
crap.
had the spins. I was like a mess. I actually thought I was sick. I thought maybe I was coming down with something. Until then, up till that moment, I felt fine all day, and then after laying down, I felt better, and I felt fine the whole next day until I played the game again. And after 20 minutes again, same thing happened. I was like broke out in sweats. I was a mess.
You know what I really think it is?
I didn't mean to laugh, by the way. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I didn't mean to laugh at your misery.
It's funny.
A funny image of you.
It's
stripping all of your clothes off and just laying there, like it just completely floored you.
Oh, honey, calling work tomorrow. I'm not going in. I was playing Quantum Conundrum.
I totally I can appreciate the humor because I mean it's funny. Yeah, it's a friggin' mess. I don't know. I've said this before. I think on this podcast I've talked about the fact that I sometimes get motion sickness from certain games. I've never been able to pinpoint what it is because I've played Counter-Strike for hundreds and hundreds of hours. I've played games like Call of Duty. I played Portal 1 and Portal 2.
Yeah, you think those ones really would have done you in?
Yeah, especially with some of the weird, crazy, going through the portals, on an infinite loop kind of thing. You think that would make me sick?
Yeah, because my nephew, he plays all the first-person games too, like Call of Duty all day, and he can't do Portal like that. That one just kills him for some reason.
It was really weird, but anyway, so that really sucked, and it really kind of hindered my ability to get I wanted to finish this game. I mean, that was something I wanted to do, and I just wasn't able to do it. I think I still put a nice dent in it. I got, just to preface this for people, we're going to be talking in a little bit of detail about the game. Going to try not to spoil too much for you, but there's 4 powers you get that let you, kind of shift between different dimensions. And I got to the 3rd power, which is the one that slows down time. And so I got maybe about halfway through that portion of the game once you have that power. So I feel like I got a good taste of it, and I really did like it a lot. I felt like, there's no way to not compare this game to Portal. It's obviously, this feels like a spiritual successor to Portal 1, kind of maybe what Swift had in mind is what their vision was for Portal 2, and maybe, I don't know. I don't want to speculate as to why they left Valve or anything like that. But, maybe it was the opportunity to make the game that they wanted to make. And that's kind of what this game feels like. It's very whimsical and cartoony, as opposed to Portal's kind of dark, dystopian kind of vibe that you get from it. I don't feel like the writing was anywhere near as funny or even as interesting as the stuff that was going on in Portal. I didn't really feel like you're going through this mansion and your uncle is kind of like the GLaDOS He's talking you through everything, and it's a little weird. It's uneven at times, but I didn't feel like that was as interesting to me as what's going on in like Portal, because that game was just kind of weird and different for its time. But I don't know. I really liked all the puzzles. I liked the powers. It was the kind of game where when you do figure something out, you feel really smart. But it's not like there's ever anything that's so difficult where I never felt stumped at any time to the point where I had to like go out and like find a walkthrough or something like that. I was able to figure everything out without too much difficulty.
I got stumped on a couple of them and had to walk away. I didn't look any of the puzzles up or anything like that, but I definitely got stumped on a couple of them to the point of frustration.
There were ones where I died or failed the puzzle and had to kill myself plenty of times. But yeah, I mean, so I don't mean that I never got stuck on anything, but it was never so bad that I looked it up or anything like that. So I think it did a good job of kind of like walking you through each of the powers and kind of letting you learn how to use them, and then gradually building and making the puzzles more complex. I don't know. What did you think, Phil?
I liked it. I want to agree with the uncle. I really couldn't tolerate at all.
Really?
Yeah, screw the uncle.
Oh, that's sad.
He got on my nerves. None of his jokes were good, and this is a weird thing. Like, he's sitting there insulting you the whole time, but you're on like a rescue mission, trying to rescue this guy, and he has nothing good to say. Like, why? I don't want to rescue you. Why do I want to rescue this guy? I don't. Like, stay in the dimension. I don't care. So I don't. So he really didn't really do anything for me. But I mean, that's besides the point. I wouldn't let that ruin the game for me. What kind of killed me with this game, I don't play first-person shooters that much, especially on the PC. So I admit I'm not as good with the mouse and keyboard as most people are. So this game is surprisingly, you could almost call it the indie puzzle platformer. It falls right in there because there is tons of platforming in this game. And first-person platforming, unless it's like Metroid Prime, is always like a nightmare. And this game, I have had like a very hard time, I don't know, making all the jumps and doing what I was supposed to be doing. Like I knew what I had to do in the puzzle. I figured it out, what I needed to do, but I could, I just kept falling down halls, dying over and over again. So finally, I'm looking at the screen and just the way the HUD is, when you have access to the ability, you don't have access to the 4 abilities at all times. They kind of switch them up throughout the game.
At least in the beginning, anyway.
And even just like as I was getting more of those, making these jumps, and the game gets kind of nuts where you need to toggle between all these dimensions while you're freaking like jumping. And to give you an example, one of the things is you can slow down time. So what you need to do is you pick up like these safes. There's like all that. This is basically the game of moving. Instead of moving around blocks, you move around a safe. The game just keeps throwing giant safes at you. So what you do is you can enter the cloud dimension that makes everything fluffy. Or it's actually, I think it's the fluffy dimension, and everything looks like clouds. Anyway, so what you do is you need to make this giant safe fluffy so you can pick it up. So that's a button or whatever, and then you have to throw it across like a chasm that you normally couldn't walk across with it. And as you do that, you need to toggle time to stop so that you can walk. Basically, you're playing catch with yourself. You throw the thing through the air, and then you have to walk around the other side, and then you catch it. And I don't know, you're just hitting so many goddamn buttons doing this stuff that
I love that.
I liked it too, but it was so many buttons. So finally, I was just like, I'm hooking up the 360 controller. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I hook up the 360 controller, and I feel like this game was definitely designed with a console, like with a controller in mind. Like it just.
Was it easier with the shoulder buttons to shift the dimensions?
Yeah, because like on the HUD, like I was kind of explaining before, all the triggers, the two triggers on each side activate those abilities, and then jumping is with A, and that's it. And it's real simple. Like, you know, I found that I got around the world much easier once I switched to a controller, because you're just hitting so many buttons.
I didn't. Really
so, was there
have an
anything that
issue
you guys
with
liked about it? I mean, because you guys are so far, it sounds like you guys disliked a lot. What did you like about it?
I like the catch. I said that. I said no. I think it had I'm sorry. Just
I really liked the powers. I liked the 3 powers that I experienced. I thought were great.
The only power you missed out on was I only made it halfway through the game. But yeah, it reverses gravity, so everything.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I think I had read somewhere about the 4 powers, and so I didn't get that one.
Just to be clear with people that are listening that have not played this game, the 4 powers are the fluffy zone that I was talking about, makes everything in clouds.
The heavy dimension.
Heavy dimension, which makes everything like rock solid and heavy as hell. You can't pick it up. And then the slow-mo, and then the
reverse
gravity. And none of these, none of these can work you have to use them together, but they don't work together. So you can't
have 2 active at the same time.
Right. You can't turn something to stone and move it slowly. It's either got to be going. You know what I mean? So
Look, I don't mean to sound like I'm being overly down on the game. I really, really liked every puzzle I did. There wasn't a single puzzle in the game where I was like, oh, that one really sucked. At least the ones that I experienced anyway. Let me be clear about that. I really thought all the puzzles were really well designed, and I actually found them to be a lot of fun. I didn't have any problems with the platform mechanics that I experienced. I did some of the ones Phil was mentioning during the slowing down time level. I did do, and I thought they were fun. I really liked them. I thought they were clever. There was the one where you throw the safe. There's 2 fields of lasers, and then you have to throw the safe, slow down time, pick up a box, and you go block another laser so that it'll let it go through. You block the one laser, and it basically shuts off the other ones to let the safe go through, and then when it gets through, you got to go to the next one and shut them off, and then ultimately the goal is to get the safe to land on this platform, which will then open the door and let you go through to the next place. I thought that was really cool. I mean, I couldn't go through every puzzle in the game, but yeah, I didn't experience a single one that I thought was poorly designed or cheap. Really, I thought they were fair.
I got to admit, I thought the puzzles actually got better and better all the way up until the very end of the game. In fact, I thought my favorite puzzles actually came about once you actually got the reverse gravity, which is a shame that they wait so long to give you the 4th power. You know, because a lot of the some of them got really, really fun. Like you had to you would have to catch a couch and then throw it in slow motion and then jump onto it and then keep reversing gravity back and forth to kind of fly forward through lasers and stuff, and it gets really intense, and it's a ton of fun.
Did you finish the game?
I did. Yeah.
Oh wow! I wanted to finish it. I didn't get a chance to finish it.
And what's funny is Justin Johnston, the guy who did our official video review for it, he said that he was really disappointed by the ending, and he even wanted to say, he was like, "Oh, I wanted to kind of hop on the show and say how sad I was with how abruptly the game ends." I have to totally disagree. I was really happy with the ending of the game. I didn't feel like it. I didn't think it was abrupt at all. I thought that it built up to the end. I finished the 4th level, restarted the generator, and then you go back and you go to your final showdown, or your final I don't want to say conflict, but your final puzzles.
Right.
And I thought it was satisfying.
Yeah, I guess that's the way the game is framed, is that there's these 4 different areas, I guess. There's 4
different parts of the mansion that
are
controlled.
The power's out, so you have to go into each area and make your way through the various puzzles, physics puzzles, and then at the end there'll be a large generator, and you have to kind of apply everything that you've learned to then power the generator up.
Did you think the game was too long, Randy?
No. Okay. And I was actually thinking about that. I had the thought, I was like, boy, that was really long for a puzzle game. And I actually thought to myself, if I was writing the review for this, would I make the comment of saying, was it too long? And that seems almost like a poor critique of a game like this, because if that's like saying, oh, you gave me too much food at the restaurant. just don't eat it all then. You know, don't play it all if you think it's too long. Just stop where you think is comfortable. So so I don't think it's too long. I like the fact that they give me more puzzles, and I'm actually really looking forward to the DLC for it to hopefully get more puzzles out of it.
Especially considering in this day and age where, you know, there's a 5-hour game for $60. It's hard to then fault a $15 game for giving you
a pile of gameplay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and good gameplay at that. I just, you know, like I said, the getting sick thing was kind of a downer. I did end up going in and messing with my config file, which seemed to help a little bit. I was able to play for longer before I started feeling sick. Or I don't know if I was just, my body was getting used to it, but I definitely want to finish the game at some point because I really like Swift's design. Like I said, I loved Portal and Portal 2, and this just feels like kind of more of that. But not the way I just said it made it sound like I was being negative about it, and I really wasn't. That's a good thing, really. It's more of that brilliant puzzle design that I loved about those other two games, in kind of a new universe.
It feels like Portal, even though you don't have a Portal gun. It still feels like Portal.
Immediately you feel like you're, because it even is kind of, you know, you get it's like a glove you get that allows you to do it. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of a similar setup in that you come into this room and then you get the glove and now you have one power and first, like how in the original Portal, how it would do the portals for you. You couldn't actually use the gun. It did that. You know, it would just turn it on and turn it off. So you could, and you had to kind of just work within.
Right, like it teaches you the mechanic before you actually get control of the mechanic, which I like.
Yeah.
Now, you and I were talking earlier, Steve, about how you were getting motion sick from the game, and I had said this, and I don't know if anybody else really kind of caught on to this, but the character that you're playing is supposed to be a child. You're supposed to be a youth, and so it's very similar to the beginning of Fallout 3, where when you start off Fallout 3, you're actually a baby, and you walk around and you solve a few minor environmental puzzles. And when I say that is because the camera then, at that point, is really low to the ground. It's almost like worm's eye view kind of thing. And I think a lot of people are really uncomfortable with that because they're used to playing with somebody who is roughly about, I'm assuming, 6 feet tall in a video game. You know, like that's how high they have it off the ground. But this is really close to the ground, and I think a lot of people are kind of uncomfortable by that.
Yeah, and you know, after you said that, and it hadn't occurred to me before that, and then I was playing earlier today a little bit when I got home from work because I wanted to see. And you're absolutely right. Like when you're standing in front of a sofa or one of those chairs, it's obvious that the chair is taller than you.
Right. You know? Right. And even when you're just walking around, you notice that the ground it's like really right here instead of like down here.
I wonder if that's what made Steve feel motion sick.
That's what I'm kind of assuming. Yeah. And there's no fixing that in the config file. That's something that's built right into the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I did mess with the field of vision and those settings. There's very limited graphic settings in the game, which while I was doing my research about people getting motion sick, I found some threads on the Steam forums, people talking about, you know, the fact that they were unhappy with the lack of video options that the game had for a PC game.
Oh, come on. I mean, I get it. I realize you want to have some video options, but this is not a graphical beast that you need to tweak with to get optimal settings here.
I don't know that I would. I agree. I was just throwing it out there. That was something I saw, and I would assume that's because this game was developed for all three platforms, and maybe they just didn't want to go too crazy with video settings. I did notice one thing, and this isn't even really a critique. This is just an observation. Was I noticed that, like the main menu, and as you're trying to go through like the menus, it feels like it's a console game on a PC.
It does, and you know what actually really drives me crazy about that main menu? To quit the game, you have to click Start Game. It's like, what the hell? I'm trying to leave you. Why would I click Start Game? I think even Alt F4ing didn't close that game. It was
just those were minor little gripes with the UI and the menus, and it didn't. I would not say that that's a huge fault of the game. It's just a little thing.
I got to admit, I really liked the game, and I think out of the three of us, I probably liked it the most. I thought that the puzzles were solidly built, which I think is key for a puzzle platformer, especially first-person style. But
can I interrupt real quick, Brandon?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I asked you about when I thought it was too long.
Yeah.
And I asked you that because I just felt like, did you feel that there were times where they really repeated a lot of the same ideas over and over again, which is when I was kind of like, well, maybe they could have cut that part of the puzzle out. Like, I don't know, just to throw an example out there, when you're in the fluffy zone, there's like these fans, and you can throw like boxes against the wall, and you can kind of make like steps. Like they did that idea when you first did that idea, you did it like a million times. It was like, okay, I understand that we can do this. Like,
yeah.
Did you never felt that way?
No, I really didn't. I thought they could have even expanded on that idea even more, like making your own fluffy block ladders, like, you know, pick up one block, put it up higher, and then jump on that to pick up the one below you and do it. I thought there was a lot of missed opportunity there. If anything, I thought that once you're actually finished with a stage, I was kind of disappointed that you always walked through what felt like the exact same hallways over and over and over again to get to the very next puzzle, which is fine if that's how they have it laid out, but I wish they had done something a little bit more like Portal, where when you were done with a puzzle, you go into the elevator and you just go right to the next puzzle. I'm not saying they needed to copy that exact idea, but that extra walking time and that extra exploration time felt like padding. But it did.
I kind of just took it.
Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just took it as that was, you know, masking load times pretty much, you know.
If that was it, I think they did it really well, and they also kind of masked it a little bit pretty well with the like when you looked at the images, they gave you a little bit of exposition about the house and the history of the quadrangles and the history of Ike and all that kind of stuff. So I think that they used it okay. I think they could have used it a lot better. In fact, if there was one beef that I had about the game, and this is my one beef about the game, and I feel like it's not even a real complaint about the game. I feel like this is more like notes for the designers. I think they missed a huge opportunity with the voice actor. John Delancey did the voice. I thought he did a great job with it. And clearly the people that were behind this were just amazing designers, because the art style was fantastic. Actually, I really like the art style a lot better than Portal's. The animation was amazing, because Ike looks like he's pulled right out of a classic Disney cartoon. And I think they missed a huge opportunity there, because you're hearing John Delancey in this like kind of ethereal voice coming through the entire mansion, when they didn't need to do that. They could have had him like appear on your glove. You could have looked up at your glove and saw a picture of him, and they could have had an animated version of him talking to you to add some personality to him, just other than a voiceover guy. You know? I mean, because they clearly had the design of the guy. You know what he looks like because he's on the art for the game, but you never ever see him except for in the paintings. And for you to be able to actually see him on screen or in some way would have added a great character to him. So as it is, the only characters that you see in the game is Ike. That's it. You never see yourself, but you only see yourself in a painting, and you never see him because he's in a painting. And then you know, I don't want to spoil it, but you see him at the very end, but the graphical style that they used to show him up there was just a flat image in a three-dimensional world, and that kind of irked me a bit.
Speaking of seeing yourself, and I kind of noticed that too. First off, this is not really a shot at the game, but I still find it kind of funny that I guess it was Half-Life 2 that first did it. When you pick up an object, it just kind of like floats up into the screen. And that's kind of become like the standard as in how, you know, that sort of thing works. And I still find it funny that like we're 10 years down the line or whatever,
and we're still having invisible floating objects in front of us.
And we still got these fucking objects just floating up. And it's like, oh, okay. And
Portal masks that pretty well, because it's supposed to be done by the gun. Like the gun is holding it up in the air, but I know you mean every other first-person shooter out in the world.
Right, and it's like floating. Okay, it's float, and I understand that like to actually animate hands grabbing and manipulating these objects would just be like a complete like programming nightmare. I get that, but I just find it funny that we're like, you know, we're almost, is Half-Life 2 a decade old? Is that 10 years old now?
Really close if it's not already. I think
so. You know, we're 10 years into this, and we still got objects floating in front of us. If you think about 1990 versus what came out in 2000, I'm just talking, you know what I mean? I'm just talking like leaps of, I don't know, just how things work. But it's not like a slant at this game. It's just kind of, I don't know, just an observation in general. But to kind of make that worse, though, you know, because you don't feel like you're a character holding these objects. I never felt like I was a little kid. I guess you guys were saying when you walk up to the couches and stuff, you're low. But another thing I noticed was, you know, you see the shadows of the objects you're holding on the wall, but you never see like a shadow of yourself. So you just kind of see like this box moving around.
That's pretty like, typical of a first-person shooter. Not many do that. Like Syndicate, I remember, did it recently, and There's a few others, a few more modern ones that start to show your own shadow and your own legs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point, yeah, I don't know. The guy should be there. Haven't you been able to see yourself since like Duke Nukem 3D?
Actually, you know what? I'm totally full of shit. We've been able to see our own shadow for years now.
Yeah, in Duke, going back to Metroid Prime, you could walk up to the wall, see yourself in Metroid. I mean, I don't know. Show me. It's weird. It's just weird. I felt like I was the box, you know, because I just see a box moving. I see a box in front of my screen, and I see a box shadow. Like I don't feel like I'm a character.
And that's actually a flaw in the game. I really do think they had a giant missed opportunity with the talent they clearly have on staff to create well animated and you know, downright beautiful characters like that, and they didn't use them to their full extent. You know,
it's also a budget game, so
is it? It was published by Square Enix, and in fact, I'll go on record and say this is one of the best Square Enix games that they've made in years now.
Well, yeah, I would probably agree with that. But,
yeah, I'm with you on that one for
sure.
sure.
I mean, sure, it's a budget game. It's $15.
That's like the box quote right there. It's like the best Square Enix game in years. ElderGeek.com.
Sorry.
So, yeah, you're probably right. That it might be the best one. But yeah, I mean, it's a $15 game, so yeah, it's a budget game. You know, I'm sure they had to cut corners or whatever, so you can excuse them on certain things.
But for a $15 game, I think we've played less expensive games that were a lot crappier than this on this show.
Oh yeah, for a $15 game, and it blows away a lot of $60 games.
Do you mean more expensive games that were a lot crappier than this?
Yeah, there's that too. Played a lot of more expensive games that were a lot crappier than this. I think if I was doing the video review for it, I would give it a worth buying for sure. But I guess after talking to Steve, I would actually put on an exclaimer saying like, "Hey, even veteran gamers might get motion sick from
Stop
playing
at a CVS and buy a box of Dramamine."
Or suck it up and be a gamer for once. Come on, you've been doing it for 20. How long have you been playing now?
I don't know. Like 33 years, something like that. I don't know. A long time, but.
Honey, Colin works sick. I can't go. I do feel bad though. I have family that actually gets really a family member or two that actually gets sick while playing first-person shooters. And
I wish it was something. I wish it was something I could put my finger on and like say, okay, this is the fix, and then keep going. But unfortunately, I haven't found that yet. I thought maybe it was a frame rate thing, like the frame rate was weird, and so I did end up disabling the VSync, like I said, by editing the config file. And that felt a little better, but there was still just kind of like this jerky movement at times that would just make me feel like, like.
Did you guys play with that motion blur on, by the way?
I turned it off. I turned motion blur. That was one of the first things to go.
You left it on, Randy?
Oh, yeah.
How do you leave that on? That's awful.
You guys are killing me. I love that stuff. I love motion blur. The better the effects I can get on screen, the more I'll take them.
Normally, motion blur doesn't bother me. Yeah, normally motion blur doesn't bother me at all. But
I can't stand it. It's not just this game. I can't stand like you move your head. When I move my head in real life, shit's not blurring everywhere. There's no motion blur.
You're not moving fast enough. That's the problem.
Get rid of that shit, people. No more motion blur. Turned it right off.
I like motion blur.
So, if I were going to give... I mean, this game's definitely worth buying, from my point of view. And I feel bad because what you pointed out, Randy, early on in the podcast is I feel like maybe it came off like I was kind of crapping on it, and I really didn't mean to. I think what happened for me really was I was very hyped up for this game, and the getting sick thing kind of just took the wind out of my sails a little bit. But I would definitely recommend this to anybody to give it a try and play it. I think it's well worth the money. I think the value is there. But if you are the type of person like me that randomly kind of gets sick from games, and I would just say, you know, be careful, but it's still worth. I don't regret buying it, and I will finish it in some at some point in my life, I will finish it. But
honey, bring me the bucket. I finished another level.
yeah, I'll just have a stack of airline sickness bags on the side of my desk here, and I'll just, or a trash can or something, and just throw up every 20 minutes, and then I'll be good to go again.
You know what I actually did really like about this game was there wasn't like there were puzzles that obviously had like legitimate solutions to them. Like they all had like the solution that was the obvious one or the one that you worked for to get. But there were a few that I definitely like fudged to get.
Right.
Like there was one where you I know exactly which one it is, and I hope I don't spoil the puzzle for anybody.
Oh, whatever, just do it.
There's a puzzle where you walk into the room and there's the 4 like batteries sitting on the shelf, and you can pick one of them to begin the level, and like you then have that power to kind of go through. I picked the reverse gravity one, and it was the only one I was able to get. I picked the reverse gravity one, and then I managed to get a bunch of safes in the room where the door was, and I just kept making the gravity like go up, and then I'd stand underneath the safe and let the safe smack me in the face and like let it roll forward, and I would reverse gravity again, and I would just make it move forward until eventually I just turned on the 2 door switches without solving the rest of the puzzle. So
wow.
Yeah, using the old noggin.
I like that though. I like when puzzles are designed in a way that you can have multiple ways to do it, and the fact that I didn't get to that one obviously because you had all 4 powers, but the fact that they give you the 4 batteries and you can kind of choose one, and that's the only way you can do it. I mean that's pretty cool. Yeah,
they're honestly the puzzles towards the very end I was really really happy with, and if there was anything to my complaint about if I had said that the game was too long, it was like maybe it took too long to get to the really really good puzzles. Like all the puzzles at the beginning felt great, but the ones towards the end I thought were just fantastic and worth kind of powering through if you were happy with it. So
cool.
What about you, Phil? Would you give it a worth? What would you give it, a worth try?
I guess maybe I give it the worth buying. I mean, I know I'm burning the poop right now, but
I thought for a moment you were gonna say, man, toss it in the don't bother pile.
No. I like it. It's good. It's a good game. It's a good game. The puzzles are good. I just got a little bit of beef with it, but I mean, whatever. It's a solid game, and it's better than probably most $60 games that are out there on store shelves right now. And I don't play many first-person games like shooters. It's not a shooter at all, but I would rather play this than any other first-person game on the market. So
nobody else when they were playing this was thinking of John Delancey from like Breaking Bad, thinking of Jesse's girlfriend's.
I know.
I haven't watched that. I've only seen a little bit of the first season. So he was, wasn't he Q from Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Yeah,
also?
you know what? I was never.
Oh,
a big
he was
Star
Q.
Trek fan.
Is that who that was talking to me? Was Q?
The Star Trek connection.
See, I knew him from Torchwood and Breaking Bad. I was never a big Next Generation fan.
I've never seen Torchwood either.
Torchwood's really good. He's in. I can't remember which version of Torchwood he was on, but his portion of the show is really good. But oh well. That is my biggest complaint. I think he was a big missed opportunity. I don't think they used him to his fullest potential. I thought he did his lines well. I thought he did okay. I think that the writing didn't hold up to his performance. And like I said,
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, and that goes kind of what I was saying about the writing is I just felt like it was, and what Phil was saying also was that it just seemed weird at times, and he was just very kind of mean to you, and it felt kind of like they were trying.
Maybe he's from an alternate dimension where he's actually your dad and your uncle at the same time, and
there you go.
And he's the one that dropped you off. Yeah, we'll see.
DLC.
All right, Phil, do you want to take it away with some of the community feedback?
Yeah. So Nate, Shamoozle, he always has something to say on here. He said he gave it. He started out with a I really like the puzzle mechanic.
Written out hmms are very deep.
Yeah, he completed the game, by the way. I really like the puzzle mechanics. Cycling through the different dimensions was really interesting. The puzzles themselves were fun, too. Clever and most of the time very satisfying to execute. Using slow-mo and reverse gravity to surf on furniture was always a fun time. I like the look of the game, the way changing dimensions thematically altered the environment. I like that, too. Got a chuckle out of me a few times, like the pictures would change and stuff like that, depending on what dimension. Especially, you just said it, especially how the paintings would change. Story and the music really fell flat, though. I didn't mind the music too much. The story was kind of it's a fine idea for what it is. I just think the uncle was dumb. I didn't care why I was figuring out these puzzles. Your uncle is a real dick for someone who desperately needs your help. I agree with this. The song that plays over the credits, which I did not see, makes me want to throw my computer out the window. It was awful. Also, don't click that do a thing button on the main screen. Pure nightmare fuel. So he seems almost how I feel about it. He's not like balled over by it or anything.
I'm hoping that in the next game that they're going to be doing some kind of co-op with this. The opportunity is there because now you could be both Dr. Quadrangle and nephew / you, whatever your name is.
That would be cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity with this game, and I really hope this continues on. Mm-hmm. You know, clearly it's not going to be the juggernaut that Portal 2 was, but I think people should still recognize it. No, and I think
it's a more, I don't know what the quaint kind of it feels like a smaller experience. You know, it's not, I don't know, and I don't mean that it's a bad thing. I just mean it feels more intimate.
It'll find its audience, I think.
Yeah, it's a great game. Yeah, for sure.
This is going to do better for these guys in Dark Void. I mean, we can say that. Right? I mean,
that is
that's a compliment.
That is a fact. That's an absolute.
I'm not saying that to be a dick. I mean, this is a much better game. I didn't play all of Dark Void. I played a demo of Dark Void, and I sort of thought it was okay because these guys they worked on Crimson Skies. Did you ever play that on Xbox?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked that game, and I liked when
it's a classic.
Yeah, and I liked that when you were flying around in Dark Void, it was basically like Crimson Skies, but you're a dude, and then you could land. But apparently the whole game itself is a train wreck. But from the demo, like just fooling around, I thought it was kind of interesting. But anyway, the game was a bomb. No one liked it. No one even wants to buy it when it's $10. And this game, you know, it's getting reviewed well. It's got a 78 on Metacritic, but the reviews are very wide ranging. Like Destructoid gave it like a perfect 10. Of course, they told you like you're a dipshit if you don't like it, stuff like that. So the reviews are kind of all over the map.
That's true, right?
Yeah, I am dumb.
Justin Johnson, also of ElderGeek.com, and the host of the Radio Free Gamer podcast, he sent me over Twitter just saying his comment was the ending or lack thereof disappointing.
I think the ending is fine
I know,
for a puzzle game, and I agree with you that again this ties back into my overall arcing point of missed opportunity with the actors. The guy didn't need to be a dick, you know. If they had just put him on screen and or even altered the story a little bit to make it a better purpose for you to push forward and solve more and more puzzles. The whole your mom and dad just drop you off every once in a while. It's kind of a lame excuse to start the story off.
Well, yeah, and what I was going to say earlier, and I kind of held back, but what the hell, was that I felt like making him a dick seemed like it was expected because of GLaDOS and Portal.
You know, I was going to say that. I was going to say that too, but it doesn't work in this case because GLaDOS is working kind of. You're not saving GLaDOS, right? You're not saving her. You're just dealing with her, and it's like it doesn't work in this case.
Yeah,
I agree, and I'm glad you brought it up because.
Here we are complaining about the story of this game when literally the story of Portal is just you are a prisoner and your job is to solve puzzles.
Yeah,
I know, but it's just the way it's handled.
Right? No, I agree. You know? I agree. There's a little bit more story here, but it is handled poorly compared to Portal.
It's a shame.
Right.
I feel guilty in a way comparing it to Portal, but there's really no way you can't compare it to Portal.
I can't think of many other first-person puzzlers out
there.
No,
it's impossible.
Well, also because of the pedigree of the developer and designer.
That's very true, and she clearly has a bright future ahead of her, even beyond Portal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's almost like. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say we did get one more that I did not put in the show notes here. I got an IM right before we started recording from Dante. Longtime fan and listener of the show and supporter. He told me to tell Randy that Randy is not allowed to like this more than Portal. I guess he read something you posted on Twitter earlier about saying that you liked it more than Portal, or you might have liked it more than Portal. And
I'll tell you what I actually do like about this more than Portal. I really like the art style a lot more than Portal. I don't want to say I like the characters more than Portal. I like the potential of the characters more than Portal. Like, GLaDOS is very one-dimensional. and Chell
Right.
is 0-dimensional. Whereas like Dr. Quadrangle actually has some, for lack of a better word, he has some dimensions to him. Ike, holy crap, Ike is one scary little fucking like midget furry man thing.
It's weird looking.
I love the one picture of him where he's like holding the balloon. And he's and the doctor says he's like, Ike loves that picture. For some reason, I hate it. His eyes stare right into your soul. Although that was that was an example of where the writing where it works and that character and kind of making, it was funny and still a little demented.
Yeah. The reason why Ike like creeps me out is because like sometimes you see him and he's just like, oh, and then there's other times where he's like, ah, and you're like, whoa, what the hell, little man? So, who knows? I think the game has a lot. I would really think that Disney should try to option to pick this up. I think it would make a great animated series. I think it would make a cool little series. And come on, they're
living in the
buddies
mansion
with
your
Square
uncle.
Enix.
There you go. They are buddies.
Could show up in the next Kingdom Hearts game.
True.
So that does it for community feedback. So let's see. We're gonna do a wrap up here. Phil, what's this you got here?
So I wanted to, since the Steam sale is going on, I wanted to touch on. I noticed that a couple of games that we covered in previous game clubs were on sale. So I just figured I'd run through like a list of some of the ones we've done this year.
With an official invite to go check them out.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, there's a lot of these are just dirt cheap. Lara Croft, which we just did last episode, is $8.99. I'm sure that'll be a daily deal and cheaper at some point. Moto Love 2 is $2.49.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, Offspring Fling $3.19.
Wow.
Legend of Grimrock right now is daily deal $6.
That's a steal.
Yeah, Wizorb $179. Unstoppable Gorg for $5, and Bastion's a little high at $10, but
yeah,
Bastion will probably go lower.
Yeah, that'll probably be a daily deal. But I mean, if I were, wanting to get in on some game club games I missed, I'd definitely pick up Noto Love, Offspring Fling, and Wizorb. I mean, that's like worth less than like $10 for 3 games.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you guys buy if you were?
Lara Croft, Grimrock, Offspring Fling.
Yeah, Grimrock for $6 is a great deal. Noidu Love 2 for $2.50 is pretty good too. That was a really fun game. And Unstoppable Gorg, if you like real-time an unconventional tower defense game for $5, that's a great deal.
Cool. Yeah, I just thought I'd throw it out there. Continue to support those games. Good games.
Yeah. And speaking of games, for the next episode of the Game Club, we're going to be playing Celestial Mechanica, which is a kind of a retro-y indie puzzle platformer. Keeping the trend going, but it's got kind of a Mega Man-ish kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it looks very 16-bit-ish.
Yeah. So, looks like an interesting game. Go over to celestialmechanica.com. We'll have a link to it in the show notes on eldergeek.com as well, so you can just get to it that way. But, yeah, check it out. Play along. Send us your comments over Twitter, Facebook, or any other way. Post them in the comments on eldergeek.com, and we will happily read them on the show.
Yes.
And be sure to...
Please be sure to listen to our podcast next time.
For the love of God, just listen.
But there's actually big news. We're on Stitcher now, right?
Yes, yeah. I've submitted us to Stitcher. We're on there now. Stitcher Radio. There'll be a little ad for it at the beginning of the show as well, so people who've gotten this far already know. But yeah, go over, check out Stitcher Radio. It's a cool app. It podcasts. If you don't want to use iTunes or whatever, you can iOS, Android. It's on Kindle, Fire, on pretty much all those platforms. It's a nice app. You can download. You can find us on there. Check us out. That would be awesome. And cool. Yeah, and if you are using iTunes or Zunes, iTunes, plural, the
iTunes or Tunes.
If you're using the iTunes, head on over there and give us some ratings. We'd appreciate it. It would help us out quite a bit.
Cool. Phil, what about you? Before we get going, how are you doing any cartoons soon on Shamoozle?
I I am working on a cartoon. I'm working very hard on it. I have no idea. I have no idea when it'll be done. I bit off more than I could chew again. But
the story of an animator.
It is, man. It's never. It's just like never. It's never ending. Never ending. You just keep going. You just keep working on it, and then and then you have like a 2-second little animated thing that you've spent hours.
Don't
and
sell
hours
yourself
on.
short. It's definitely like 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's at least 3.5. Solid.
So yeah,
And the voice acting is really good. You got an excellent performance out of Benson last time.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm going voice acting free. I decided on this one.
Ah.
Yeah, I was going back and forth, and I just decided that I wanted to take a more silent approach to it. So yeah,
Cool.
just decided that the other day. Yeah, sorry.
Alright.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
yeah.
look forward to it. Check out Phil.
Yeah.
Follow him on Twitter at Shamoozle.
Yeah,
and
I've been
look for
tweeting.
updates on the new short.
Yeah, it'll be ready at some point. I was really hoping for end of the month, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. I would really like it to be that way. I'm working hard, but we'll see.
Hardly working.
No, in this case, yeah, maybe in between, maybe like the first month or two after the last short. Yeah, hardly working, but yeah, putting the pedal to the metal a little bit now. Trying.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. Be sure to head over to eldergeek.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch TV. Lots of good stuff. Lots of video reviews, editorial content. Guys streaming games. They're hot and heavy into the secret world right now.
Yes,
so
they are.
You can pretty much any time of the day head over there and check out some of that. I got to jump in. I want to check that game out. Been hearing cool things about it, but have not played it yet. So thank you very much for listening. For myself, Steve, and for Phil and Randy, we will see you next time.